This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Welcome to episode 67 of Paranormal Dads. I'm your co-host, Andy.
I'm Pat.
And I'm Eddie.
Join us as we go in search of the world's monsters, myths, and mysteries, right here on Paranormal Dads. Welcome back, everybody. We have an amazing episode lined up for you. We got the trio of Paranormal Dads, and hopefully you're excited. You know, thanks for being here. Thanks for tuning in, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Hope you're settled down, staying warm, and are ready for some spooky content.
Paranormal round the clock. Doesn't matter. It could be the morning with your coffee. It's spooky coffee. It could be lunchtime. You're sitting outside looking at the thing. Oh! Is that a lunchtime werewolf? I don't know.
For breakfast, you're having your blueberries,
Ooh.
And then in the evening, you're settling down in front of the fire, maybe Josh Gates on the television, listening to some Paranormal Dads.
Yeah, it's funny. In movies, the paranormal activity is always at night. Right?
Always at night.
It's always at night. But the reality is a lot of people that I talk with, they have weird happenings during the day, any hour of the day.
Oh, sure.
I mean, broad daylight. Yeah, Bigfoot sightings, dogman sightings, many of those happen during the day, right?
Like sometimes early morning, like that pre-dawn, but it's not in the dead of night. It's certainly like the sun's starting to come up and people have that kind of thing happen.
Bigfoot's a morning person.
Bigfoot's totally a morning person. You know, he's just like stretching, but he's like early morning. He's like 4:15 in the morning guy.
People driving to work, he steps across the highway in 2 steps and
boom, boom.
does the Bigfoot 2-step.
Like, I might be totally exhausted. My coffee hasn't kicked in yet, but I saw me a Bigfoot.
He has a Starbucks latte in his system already. He's ready to go about his day of hide and seek.
Oh, man, the caffeinated Sasquatch. The calf squatch, if you will.
Well, without further ado, maybe we should jump right in. Recent sightings. Who's on this one today, guys?
This one is mine.
All right, here we go.
So let's look at some recent sightings. So this one is kind of an interesting one. This is a bit of a ghost story.
Oh, love a ghost story. We haven't had one of those in a while.
Yeah,
It's all cryptids and stuff.
Yeah, we've been kind of cryptid in. We've been doing a lot of UFO talk.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
This is definitely a ghost story, I think. But if you, and it's fairly recent. This took place last summer, around July, end of July, 2021. But there is a headline from KMPH News, and I think this is probably out of Sacramento or some California market out near Yosemite. Sheriff investigates ghost-like sighting in Madera County mountains. So just right off the bat, that kind of jumped out at me. The sheriff is investigating a ghost sighting in the mountains.
Nice. This
So-
is a movie waiting to happen.
So
Mountain ghosts.
mountain ghosts.
See it now. Up in the horizon. Is that a Bigfoot? No.
It's a ghost.
It's a ghost.
Anyway, so it all started innocently enough. There was a family of 4, or maybe it was 5. 2 parents and their young children went out 4-wheeling in like one of those little sport buggy things.
Oh, sure.
So they're cruising around the mountains, the Madera County mountains. This is in Coarse Gold, California. So this is right near Yosemite.
Oh,
it's
wow.
like right next door to Yosemite. They're cruising around. They stopped for lunch one afternoon, and their 3-year-old, by the name of Caden, began talking to somebody. He was sitting in the car and talking to somebody, and then later he came to his parents, and he started pointing out into this meadow.
Oh, boy.
Where they were parked having their picnic lunch. And so Caden's telling his parents there's a woman lying out there face down with her legs straight up in the air. So, I mean, I'm trying to picture that, and I mean, she's got to have her face in the dirt with her legs up in the air, right?
Ouch.
And he says she's dead, and she needs our help.
My God.
So,
Oh, man, if I had a nickel for every 3-year-old
Yeah.
named Caden who can see dead people in a meadow.
The dad's like, Caden, can we have one breakfast where you don't talk about the woman who's dead, who needs help?
Right in that wheelhouse, though, 3- and 4-year-old kids. We always talk about this. 3- and 4-year-olds are really close to the spirit world. They're incredibly psychic, and they're finally old enough to verbalize what it is that they're seeing and feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, the veil's not completely lifted yet.
Right.
So he's going on and on about his mom said he flat out told us, Mom, she's dead, she needs our help, and his mom just got the goosebumps. She's like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? So she and her husband went out into the fields and the meadow and started looking around. Didn't find anything.
Sure.
But it was disturbing enough to the family. They called it a day. They said, that's it. We're going home. We don't want to hang around here. Caden's acting kind of weird. Let's just go home.
And like the unhealthy family they were, they all blamed Caden. Like, we would have had a good time if it was Caden.
So, I mean, actually, his parents were very supportive.
Oh, no, I know.
The young man.
I know.
So what happened is Mom went home and posted the story on Facebook.
Oh, no.
Kind of tell her friends about what they experienced out there and what the boy was saying. And she asked, does anybody know anything about this region, about somebody dying up there or somebody missing up there? The very next day, she gets a call from the sheriff's office. And the lead investigator for a missing persons case, somebody who was missing in Yosemite, he said, I'd like to talk to you about what the boy was telling you and where you guys were. And so next day they went back up there with the sheriff's department. And the thing is, Caden described this person as in blue jeans, a black T-shirt, and blue hair. Well, you're thinking, blue hair.
Smurfs.
Is this kid?
They don't live in the mountains.
This sounds like Sesame Street, right? So you're thinking maybe this kid's making this up. Well, it came to find out there actually was a missing person, and she was described. Her name was Sandra Hughes, and she had gone missing in that area in June the prior year, 2020. And her description was black T-shirt, blue jeans, and blue hair. And they even have pictures of her. She had dyed her hair blue.
Yeah.
So right there, I mean...
Yeah.
That's kind of alarming.
That's very alarming. Your kid has no knowledge.
Yeah,
this kid is going in there cold as anything, and he's like, I see this person.
He sees this person. He knows she's in trouble, and he can describe her to a T. And so the sheriff's department went out there, and they did some looking around. They didn't find anything. And so to this day, that case has still not been solved. They have not been able to find Elizabeth Hughes, Sandra Hughes. But the family, Caden's family, they have chosen not to go back to that area.
Oh, wow.
We're going to go to a ghost-free national park.
It freaked them out that much. They actually, for a short time, they started calling their little four-wheeler the Ghost Runner.
Oh.
But they did place it up for sale, and and they're kind of moving on with their lives. But I just thought that was just a really creepy case.
Now they're more indoor people. Now they're going to watch national parks on Discovery Channel as opposed to going out there.
Maybe stick to the petting zoos.
Exactly. Uno at home.
It just makes you wonder, what's out there in that field that this kid can pick up on that. He can describe her to a T.
Yeah.
Is she buried up there somewhere? And, I'm sure the authorities looked into it and, are following up on it. But, yeah, it's a sad story.
Not to be macabre here, but it's like, and I've talked to people. This is in the discussion, the wheelhouse of like Sasquatch, finding Sasquatch remains. in the forests and like I mean this is in the forest up in the mountains, right? Like this is not like a national park necessarily.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's basically attached to Yosemite.
Okay, so it's wild.
But it's I don't think it's in the park, but it's wild country up there.
I mean, everybody we've spoken with, and like Andy, I mean, we like to camp and do stuff, but we're not big hunters and trappers and stuff. But,
No.
but like people who we've spoken with who do that stuff, they're like, the reason you don't see Bigfoot bodies in the wild is A, they're an apex predator, and B, when an apex predator gets injured or hurt, they kind of go into a space where you'll never find them. They know a little hidey hole to go into. But even if one were to die, that a body, not to be macabre here, but in the wild, exposed to all the elements, everything, they go, even the bones would be reduced, would be gone within like months. That's what they had said.
One of the experts in that Bigfoot convention we were going to, it might have been Cliff Brockman, but he was talking about there's some sort of mite or insect that eats bones.
Yep.
Right.
And it can completely, almost like termites on wood, it can completely disintegrate bones in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, if it's left exposed,
Literally
if
nothing
it's not
left.
buried, if it's not kept away, whatever, these things can, if it's just laying out, you could have it be gone in no time.
So with Sarah Hughes, they actually did find her campsite was in shambles. Like there had been some kind of a
Animal attack.
ruckus or something there, but they never did find her. One of the other things that I didn't mention was they showed pictures of her to Caden. He identified her as the lady he saw in 3 out of the 4 pictures.
Wow.
So,
Well, a couple noteworthy things here. Sometimes when there's a death of, traumatic death, whether she was attacked by a person or attacked by a creature, it's still traumatic. And when traumatic events occur, sometimes when a person crosses into the afterlife, then you have a ghost. You have a ghost situation where the person's confused or what have you, and sometimes their energy is still in that general vicinity. And of course, little 3 and 4 year old kids, they're just like little psychic X-ray machines. They see everything, But the other noteworthy thing is that, I love the fact that the family didn't shut it down. The family didn't push it aside. She posted on social media, and then the authorities didn't roll their eyes at it either. I'm glad that people actually took this seriously, because 3 and 4 year old kids, yes, they're imaginative, yes, they say strange things, but they're tuned into a frequency that adults sometimes aren't. In terms of remembering past lifetimes, but also seeing ghosts and spirits and things that we can't.
I mean, in your experience, you've seen this quite a bit, correct? In your
yeah. I mean, I've personally seen a handful of ghosts in my time, and usually what I'm dealing with is spirits. To get technical, a spirit is a person who's crossed into the afterlife, and I know it's possible to communicate with them because that's part of my job. On the flip side, you have a ghost, which is like an earthbound entity, a person who's died but has not yet crossed into the afterlife, and they eventually will. But until they do, sometimes it's possible for a intuitive or sensitive person to see them, whether it's in a field or where the body used to lay, or you'll have that.
Crazy.
so
Good find.
So there
man.
you go.
Good find.
There you go.
there's our ghost story.
Man, I love them.
Well, do you got something a little more cheerful in pop culture, Eddie?
Oh,
with
I
the
bet
spirits?
I do. Get ready, everybody. Get your nerd hats on. We're going to get a little geeky with this pop culture and the paranormal.
It's time for pop, culture, and the paranormal.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Are your nerd glasses on? Is the tape on tight right in the middle? Andy's nerd is amazing.
I've got my propeller hat on.
Exactly. There's Pat. And I got my suspenders so tight, I can't feel my shoulders. Everybody get ready. We are going to talk about some Marvel movie stuff and pop culture and the paranormal. Specifically, hey, if you dust off your Disney Plus memberships, everybody, pick up your thing and blow the dust off of it. There's some great new stuff on Disney Plus. Not to mention some for you Star Wars nerds out there, the Book of Boba Fett, which I'm sure
I'm following it
Pat
closely.
is in.
Yeah.
Pat, it's all over the Fett. This I'm going to speak about is a Marvel movie called The Eternals. And The Eternals, the cool thing about this, Marvel is getting into this kind of like almost ancient alien storytelling with this specific story. They do a lot of this with some of the spacey type things, like, you people thought it was this, but surprise, it's actually this. And you're like, whoa, this is so cool. With the Eternals, the thing that really hooked me as far as a Paranormal Dad was that the idea is that these are, and this is kind of spoilery for some people, but these are highly advanced humanoid androids that are built by this consciousness in the universe that calls itself an celestial. And these celestials create these Eternals that basically go down to different planets and keep negative things, essentially, whether it be predators or other things, from harming not just humans, but intelligent life, so that intelligent life has a fighting chance to develop and grow into a evolved society. There you go. So these Eternals, the cool thing about these characters is that it's tied directly into human myth or storytelling. And so the idea is that, kind of getting into the ancient alien theory, that these characters are actually, they're fables and myths and human stories, but they're actual people who did real things. So I just have a little list of some of the characters in the Eternals. There's a character named Icarus. And Icarus can fly. That's his superpower. And he also has super strength and all of these things that he can do. He's very Superman-like in a lot of ways. I know, right? Very Superman-like. But the idea is that Icarus was a real person in this story and was able to help people and save them, and that he was an inspiration for people to tell stories of Daedalus and Icarus. And it's funny because Daedalus is a character that gets used later as Phastos is in the Eternals, who is a technology person, and he develops cool cutting-edge technologies. And the idea is that he kind of gradually leaked some of these technological ideas into human society and allowed humans to kind of like move forward.
Maybe to Tony Stark and company.
Stuff like that. Or even early humans, and like, hey, look, what would you do if you mixed this with this? Oh man, you make gunpowder. How cool is that? And trying to help guide humanity. Another great character is Gilgamesh. And Gilgamesh has super strength, but there is a old ancient story in human history called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which has parallels to the Christian story of Noah. And so in this story, Gilgamesh is a protector. He does strong things, but the idea is that at some point in our history, Gilgamesh did help build a boat protecting humans from a flood. All those things. Played by Angelina Jolie, there's a character in this movie called Thena, who basically is the template for Athena, the Greek goddess, correct? No, not Roman, Greek goddess of war. And that Thena in this story is this, badass, warrior woman that's able to basically defeat anybody who she fights. And so there's this great idea. Oh, and I would be remiss if I left out one more character here. It is Kumail Nanjiani. Yeah, he's an American. Well, he's actually from Pakistan, but he immigrated to America several years ago. Hilarious comedian. He has a podcast called, I think it's called Your Mom's House, and it's hilarious. And but Kumail Nanjiani plays a character called Kingo, and he has the power of glow sticks! No.
Superhero glow stick.
He has the power of finger guns, for real. He shoots laser blasts. Like, pew, pew, pew. Andy did legit finger guns. He goes around and does the finger guns. He's like, pew, 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 pew. And he shoots laser blasts out of his hands.
Oh my God, what if that misfired? What if you're just, asking your friend, hey, can you grab that off the counter for me? Boom! Blow a hole in the wall?
Yeah, it's crazy. Wow. But the thing about this movie that I really enjoyed, between characters like I said, Icarus. Oh, there's another character called Sprite. And Sprite is forever young. Not the hit song from the 80s.
Forever young.
There he goes.
Little Rod
I
Stewart.
think my voice just cracked.
It's okay. And so Sprite basically is this illusionist. She's able to create images that look real that basically confuse or befuddle enemies and things like
Almost
that.
like Loki.
Very Loki-like in a lot of ways. And they said that Sprite was kind of the inspiration in human history for those kind of mischievous storytelling. Even some people thought within that would be like Peter Pan or Tinkerbell. And so the cool thing about this story, this movie, which I would encourage anybody who's a paranormal fan at all, is that this movie has its roots in like ancient myth and ancient storytelling, and it takes like the origins of the universe and all these things, very big, heavy concepts, and it makes them kind of fun. It just is a fun storytelling of taking modern comic book heroes along with epic, dusty Bronze Age stories.
I mean, kudos to the people who write and come up with these stories. They're so intricate compared to movies of generations past. I mean, I can't imagine being a fly on the wall in the room of writers coming up with this stuff. I mean, it's deep. It's very, and you get like, get into the territory like with Avengers, or you got, multiple characters, multiple storylines, and to keep those time frames consistent, the timelines consistent, it boggles the mind.
The idea of the writing of this, and once again, not to give too much away, but the idea behind the story is that they're there to keep humans safe, basically. And they get to a point where they've realized they've gotten humans through this very delicate period, and now they will at some point get taken away. Their mission is done. Mm-hmm. And later on in the movie, they revealed, oh, psych, your mission's not done. There's actually this secret subplot that you didn't know about that's going to lead to the destruction of the Earth. And I'll get you guys excited to watch this. Have you seen it yet, Pat?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, you should watch it with the kids.
Yeah, I've seen trailers and things and thought, yeah, that looks pretty cool.
So the Celestial in this one, and I forget his name. You have to forgive me on this one, but his whole point was protect the Earth, keep it safe. We love humans, and they're like, sweet, you got it, we'll do it. Then fast forward, he tells one of the Eternals, oh, by the way, my bad. I do love humans. Here's why. Humans basically, not just humans, intelligent life generates essentially this type of life force. And we, Celestials, plant basically a seed, a tiny piece of ourselves into these planets, and right into the middle of the Earth. And this seed essentially slowly absorbs a tiny bit of that life force. Not enough to be detectable from any human, but the more humans that are there, the more life force this thing can absorb. And so if you know your Marvel stuff, when Thanos snapped and cut the population down in half, not just on the Earth, but the gap everywhere, that inhibited this thing's growth because it had less life, intelligent life to feed off of. When they re-snapped and got everybody back, this thing jump-started its feeding, essentially, and was like, hey, I'm ready to hatch now.
Oh, wow.
And when it hatches, it destroys the Earth. It's like a chicken coming out of an egg. Just, and that's basically how, and they're like, oh, man, so we're just basically tools to grow more Celestials. And he's like, yeah, basically. And so they, then
they're
chaos
just keeping
ensues.
the hen happy until the egg comes out, and then
Basically,
then
yes.
you burn down the barn.
I'm just thinking they say, hey, Icarus, we got a job for you. There's this meteor out by the sun. Yeah, you need to go to the sun, Icarus.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the one that got burned flying too close to the sun? The flight of Icarus?
In the Greek myth?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
He, like, burned
Daedalus, his father made him wings of wax. And he flew higher and higher, and his dad said, no, son, don't fly so high. And he's like, whatever, man, you don't know me. Flies up, wax gets all hot, and he's like, eh. Basically, every story we've ever told our children, please be careful. Whatever, old man. Crunch.
Well, they can always go on to Scary, Sporty Baby, Ginger, and Posh, those superheroes. And bring them in.
Pat invoking the spice cabinet. But super fun. There's a lot of characters in this one. I only named off a few, but all of these characters are pulled out of ancient myth and storytelling, and so it's fun. And they kind of play with this too because they live around humans, and that's kind of the whole point about everything from the Anunnaki down to the gods of Sumeria, down to Greek gods and even Norse gods. The idea of all these stories, these were gods that would dwell amongst humans. They'd come down and hang out with the humans.
Right.
And so that was a persistent theme with some of this old storytelling. And that's what they do in the story. They
Well,
hang out with them.
it harkens back to Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where this god of a planet, spoiler alert, hung out on Earth for a while to, he created the Star-Lord there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The gods messing with the humans.
Gods messing with humans. Come on, gods with a little G. Quit playing around with human history and stuff. But super interesting story. Straight out of this thing vibrated Paranormal Dads, and when I watched it, I'm like, that's super fun.
It's been towards the top of my list of movies I need to go see. So
Yeah.
this might be the week.
It's a long one. Just a little word of the warning.
2.5.
So it's a movie, it's not a series.
It's not a series. It's
Okay.
definitely a film.
Okay.
It's 2:45.
Gotcha.
So you're gonna.
So I need 2 buckets of popcorn, is what you're telling me.
2 buckets of popcorn, 7 visits to the bathroom. You're gonna be, you'll be a-okay. But it's a fun one, and a lot of people were kind of iffy on it, and I think for a lot of people, these are characters you've never heard of. No one ever heard of these characters. It's pulled out of an obscure Marvel comic, almost page for page, by the way. I thought was
Really?
interesting. Yeah. They really adapted this straight to the, but super fun. So especially as someone who enjoys, some of that old Ancient Alien stuff. I'm like, man, this is just like Ancient Aliens. This is crazy. So it was just fun. I encourage anybody to go check it out. There you go.
Cool.
And
Thanks
now
for the movie review, Eddie.
And now on to the main mystery, I think.
Main mystery.
Main mystery.
And now it's time for the main mystery.
Welcome to the main mystery.
I'm scared.
It's the main mystery.
And we're sticking with Alaska theme.
Yes,
I believe our
yes.
third
Yeah.
installment, third main mystery in a row where we're talking about Alaska. So it's a big state. It's the biggest state, so it deserves the recognition.
Exactly.
And the theme song. So here it is.
It's the biggest state with the smallest population.
Teeny weeny living space. A lot of living space.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people taking up on it.
So have you guys ever heard of the case of the town in Alaska that was so overrun with violent Bigfoots that everyone just packed up and left?
No.
I think I may have heard.
Brawling
that,
Bigfoots? Of course
yeah.
you know this, Pat. You're the big man.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's called Portlock, Alaska, better known as Port Chatham.
Okay.
And here's what happened, guys. This took place in the early 1900s to mid-1900s in the Kenai Peninsula, which is actually in the southern part of Alaska. Coincidentally, I've been through that area years ago on a family cruise. We kind of hit up all the hot spots in Alaska, and had I known this at the time, I probably would have kept my head on a swivel. But basically, a whole fleet of commercial fishing boats were brought in the early 1900s, and you had a surge of new employment opportunities if you were in the mining or lumber industry, if you were a fisherman. People were flocking to this area, and it suddenly became a booming town. In fact, come 1921, it was so busy and so booming, bustling that it was actually established a post office, and they had a census and everything, and they established what they called the Portlock Cannery. And I was unable to figure out what a cannery is. I ran out of time to look that up.
They can fish.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I assume they were canning something. They didn't say what it was.
I would
they
assume
can-
fish,
It's
yeah.
food, but usually a cannery is fish. I mean, that's what you're getting at. And
Chop it
if it's
into
a lab-
bits, put it in the can, seal in the can.
Charlie Tuna.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know. Have you ever had canned salmon? That stuff's nuts, and I love it, but it's weird. Oh yeah, but you got bones in that sucker. Like
Oh,
they don't
really?
even mess around. They take that fish and they just jam it into a can, and they're like, "Get out of here, canned fish!" Yeah, and it sits, and the bones actually break down over time in the juices that they're in, and the fish juices.
That does not at all sound
Yeah,
appealing.
no.
I was in
yeah.
Boy Scouts. We had to like bring canned stuff.
Eat
and
your
we'd-
bones for dinner,
Get your
kids.
Save all the bones for Eddie. He loves them.
That's disgusting.
So what's it do to your insides once you eat it?
They
That's the
crumble
question.
apart. The bones are so like soaked in this like brine that over time they just disintegrate. So when you bite them, they just crumble apart into like dust.
I never thought we'd be doing a deep dive on salmon bones. But here we are.
You do that cannery.
It's what
cannery.
we do.
Your cannery corner with Eddie.
All right, so then all hell breaks loose. All right, because we had a lot of reports of scared people, missing people, murders, disappearances, you name it. I mean, a logger named Andrew Camluck in this area of Chatham was found dead in 1931, killed by an apparent blow to the head from behind.
Snap.
So either somebody snapped
Yeah.
and went WWF style, took a 2x4 to this guy's back of the head.
Hacksaw Jim Dugan them right
Yeah.
there. Pat knows.
or Andrew never saw it coming. But other people suspected that that they were dealing with a larger creature, an aggressive creature. Goes without saying, if we have a creature who can, swing items, it's probably going to be bipedal on 2 feet.
Sure.
But something cleaned this guy's clock. Another gold miner from a nearby Port Graham, he went off to work, never came back. Never came back home.
I'm with you, bro. Sometimes.
Eddie was supposed to go to work. He just kept walking. He just kept
Weird,
going.
he just walked right by the door and kept going.
Just kept going.
He pulled a Forrest Gump, just kept running.
Highway to Heaven style. Just kept walking off into the sunset. He was an angel the whole time.
There's so many things started happening. There was a local fisherman by the name of Tom Larson, and he saw a large hairy beast on the beach. Naturally, as you would do at the time, he saw a beast, went home to get his rifle.
I'm going to shoot it.
And he came back. Monster was still there,
Oh.
but he didn't shoot it. It never was able to articulate a good response as to why he couldn't pull the trigger. Some theorize is because whatever he was looking at was too human-like or human-looking.
That's been a thing, right? With some people said they had a Bigfoot. Yeah. They saw what they thought was a Sasquatch. They pulled their gun up, and they're like, I couldn't kill that thing.
Yeah.
It looked like I was pointing at a human being.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a hairy guy sometimes, Eddie.
It's true.
I mean, if you had Eddie between the crosshairs, you could not pull the trigger. Those beautiful brown eyes.
Thanks, buddy. Got those crosshairs right in my forehead. You're like, oh, man. He's cute. A single tear rolls down my cheek.
He's hairy, but he's cute.
Can't kill that hairy, weird guy.
No, but he saw the creature. Creature just kind of mean-mugged him. I mean, all the accounts I was reading of this incident with Tom Larson, the creature just looked at him, kind of shrugged its shoulders, walked off. He never did pull the trigger.
Wow.
There was another group of people that were actually tracking moose. And what they found, they were finding moose tracks, they were following it, but what they saw kind of interspersed with the moose tracks were 18-inch human-like footprints, right? And so they're like, what the hell is this thing? So then they come across a flattened spot in the brush where it looked like there was some sort of huge kind of life or death altercation.
Yeah.
And it didn't say if there was any blood or remains found, but from that point on where they found this skirmish took place, from that point on, all they saw was more 18-inch footprints headed up towards the mountains and no more moose prints.
Oh.
So it makes you wonder if a Bigfoot got in a scuffle with a moose, killed the moose, threw the moose over his shoulder and walked up into the mountains to eat his dinner.
Broke his neck or something.
Shoved him inside a can.
Took some salmon bones as a toothpick, get the moose bits out of his teeth.
Man.
But some cannery workers went up into the hills, to hunt moose and other thing. They never came back. In fact, one of their bodies was horribly mutilated and dismembered, and it actually washed down the stream back into Port Chatham from up in the mountains. So, I mean, weird things just kept piling up. People are nervous. People are on edge. If you're going to go out in the woods, take a buddy with you. Use the buddy system.
This
Always
gang of Sasquatch.
bring your gun.
Always bring your gun.
People were genuinely terrified.
Yeah,
I mean, you're scared. You're scared to go to work. You're scared to be out after dark. So a lot of these accounts, and keep in mind, some of the natives called this thing Nantinaq, if I'm pronouncing that right, Nantinaq, which translates to half man, half beast.
Yeah, seems fair.
So anyway, after people eventually thought, okay, enough is enough. People straight up left the town, guys. They didn't even take the stuff that they brought with. They just left. They left their homes. They left their vehicles. They left their much of their working supplies. They just left. It became a ghost town overnight.
This is Bigfoot's
That's
Buick
crazy.
now.
What kind of terror would it take for you to just say,
Just pick up or not even pick up, just leave.
just leave it and go. Your life's more valuable.
So there's so many people getting jacked
Yeah.
by Sasquatch
Yeah.
that they're just like, leave it. Let's just go.
And that's the weird thing. You don't hear of many aggressive altercations with Bigfoots. You
No.
really don't.
Yeah.
It's like they want to
Yeah.
be left alone. Sometimes they'll give like a territorial threat or grunt, but they never actually attack people.
No.
So
I mean,
here you have multiple attacks, but then it kind of gets you down that line of thinking where our Bigfoot's like human. You have some that are nice, you have some that are jerks,
Some that are
peaceful.
jerks.
Some are like Pat and they don't like conflict and they're just a gentle giant. And then you have some who, they like to stir things up. They like to be beefing.
Yeah.
Some are like Andy; they'll just snap a chair leg off and just start working people. It's you wonder about this. I mean, we've heard. I mean, these are all estimates, right? But when we spoke to some like legit biologists who like study the science of Sasquatch and like DNA and the wrinkles and people, the actual fingerprints and footprints and all the minutia of that stuff. They've said. They estimate a population of about 10,000 worldwide. Wasn't that what we had come across?
Yeah.
Something like that, or at least in the North America area, 10,000.
Well, somebody recently asked me if there's only one of them or is there more than one. It has to be more than one
there's gotta
because
be more than one.
You're having any given day of the year, you're having multiple Bigfoot sightings in multiple states. There's no way it could be one creature.
Plus, it couldn't be. I mean, honestly, it's not going to live to be 1,000,000 years old. Like, there's no way. If this thing's ancient, I mean, you could. But the idea is, if you have 10,000 of something and you've got essentially family structures, that's kind of what we believe, right? That's kind of they're very primate in a lot of ways. You could have a group of them that are like. We've been nice to humans before. They've jacked us every time. So guess what? Whenever you see a human, kill them, fold them in half. It's like I wonder, like you said, if there isn't just a gang of Sasquatch that have just been like, nah, we're not going to be nice to these.
And descriptions of Sasquatches change over, depending on who you're talking to. Some have red fur, some have brown fur, some have black fur. Some are kind of like the silverback gorilla looking kind of a pattern on them. So. Yeah, I would think there was definitely more than one.
Right. But anyway, so everybody left. This was around 1949, 1950. Everybody up and left except for the postmaster.
Oh,
he's like, I'm not leaving my post office.
Bigfoot's gonna carry me off dead before I don't deliver these packages to no one.
And luckily he lived. Luckily that didn't happen. But man, if everyone's leaving town because there's a creature that's just often. People just killing folks. I wouldn't be hanging around by myself.
No.
So he stayed for 1 year and then homeboy left too.
I know what it was though. He was in on it the whole time. Da, 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 da. He was friends with these Bigfoot. He was selling out everybody in town.
It was the postmaster with a letter opener the whole time.
Exactly. So I'm going to hang out and people will think I'm cool and then I'll wait a year and then leave.
So did they mention any kind of like follow up with these people who left? Like did anybody come out and say, hey, I was there, this is what happened?
Well, so here it is. There's a couple incidents that actually that took place after everybody left. Now, keep in mind, even to this day, there's only a single unpaved forest road within 10 kilometers of Port Chatham. Like, it's still out in the middle of nowhere. Some of the structures are all dilapidated, but they're still there. Like, some of them are still standing. But the stories didn't stop. So there was a goat hunter, which I didn't know was a thing, but... Call me crazy.
I heard of ghost hunters, but that's the next level.
No, this is like bah, like
nice.
goats. Yeah,
nice.
A goat hunter in 1968 claimed to have been chased by a creature while he was hunting in that area. Then in 1973, a few years later, there was 3 hunters that actually took shelter in Port Chatham during a 3-day storm. And while they were there, they claimed that each night something was walking around their tent, and it sounded like it was on 2 feet.
Yeah.
So,
man.
And then the one that
I don't know.
really...
Sleeping in a tent in Alaska.
I know.
I don't know if I don't know. I don't think I have that in me. I'd want a cabin. I'd want some solid walls.
Yep. Unless I'm sleeping in a tent. If I'm sleeping in a tent in Alaska, I'm gonna have like a trap set up that has like bear traps and like 40 shotguns pointed at it and a bunch of things that like anybody rolls up on my tent, they're gonna limp back.
Oh.
Gosh, well, Bigfoots in Alaska aren't the only scary things I've seen on like nature shows and documentaries. The interior of Alaska has the worst mosquitoes on planet Earth.
Yeah, I have heard that.
They got mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds, man. They'll drain you. Like it's like you'll die of a billion mosquito bites before you get out of there.
I recently read a book about smoke jumpers, about the guys who will parachute down into forest fires to fight forest fires. And this guy was actually in Alaska, his first jump into Alaska. And as he was coming down to the ground on his first jump, he noted these clouds down on the ground, these black clouds. And he's like, they're not smoke. And he realized when he landed, they were mosquitoes. They were that bad.
Ding.
Yeah.
Just killing a Sasquatch, draining him dry
Yeah, they just eat you alive up there.
like a sock. Oh, dude, that's crazy.
So the last one, last little follow-up story was in 1990. There was in Anchorage, Alaska. There was a paramedic. He was called out to help a 70-year-old native who had suffered a heart attack, and this person was incarcerated in the Eagle River Jail, which is just a little ways north of Port Chatham. And while treating the man, the paramedic had mentioned, they were just making small talk, and he was mentioning to the inmate that he had hunted in the area of Port Chatham. And this elderly guy suddenly gets really terrified and concerned, and he sits up and he grabs the medic by the shirt collar, and he was like, "Did it bother you? Did you see it? What'd you find there? Is it still there?"
Oh, man.
So, I don't know, back in the day, he apparently was in Port Chatham or passing through, and maybe he had seen something himself, but the
Did
legend...
you see it?
The legend precedes this place. So if you're up near the Kenai Peninsula, in southern part of Alaska, maybe either go there if you're looking to beef with some aggressive Sasquatches, or just stick to the touristy towns. It's your call.
I would just love to know the answer to this story. It's like, why did they leave? What caused an entire town of people to get up and leave?
Well, and people that are more on the skeptical end of the spectrum, they claim that it was economics, and there was a highway built that bypassed the town, and the town wasn't needed, or blah 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 blah.
Right.
But you have all these unsolved cases of people coming up missing, bodies washing downstream, large footprints in the mountain. People aren't. I'll put it this way: if it was societal and economic reasons that this city just shut down, it would have been slow. You would have had some people leaving here and there. Right. Business is getting slow. Let's close shop. No, people just left. They just straight up left everything they had.
Yeah.
Yeah, not an exodus.
Yeah.
If you're going to Port Chatham, wear your brown pants.
Bring some extra undies, people.
Well, so you blend in with Bigfoot. That's what I mean.
Well, that wraps it up for the main mystery. And we're actually doing a fun new thing. So on social media, which we're becoming a lot more active on lately, by the way, but we reached out recently on our Paranormal Dads page.
On Facebook. This is through Facebook.
Through Facebook, I'm sorry. And we were asking people to ask Eddie anything.
Oh, man.
No, Eddie's on the hot seat.
AEA.
Ask Eddie anything. So I'm just going to round up a couple of the comments. This is just something we're going to continue to do in an attempt, to connect with you guys and to answer a few of your questions, to get to know us a little bit better. Here we are talking about all this content, but
get to know your paranormal dad.
Get to know your paranormal dads. Somebody named Justin Wilmette.
Good enough.
Good enough. Justin G asks, would you rather live in a haunted house again, or live in the time dinosaurs roamed the earth?
I don't need to puzzle over this one for long. I'd rather live in a haunted house.
Yeah.
I figure in the land of dinosaurs, I'm fighting to stay alive every day. I forget just the mental trauma alone, the mental and the physical. No. Although cool, don't get me wrong, it'd be a cool life, but a short life.
Probably.
Yeah. I say haunted house.
You end up being an appetizer for a T-Rex.
I'm not going to end up being some bones sticking out of some Tyrannosaurus poo. No, thank you.
Sarah Rogers. Hi to Sarah. Thanks for chiming in. She wants to know, what's one place you would want to go on vacation and never leave? Please tell me it's Port Chatham.
And then Port Chatham, because I'd be disappeared. I would probably like to go to what's that one Greek island where they have the white buildings with the blue tops? It's
where is that?
It's at Malta, not Malta.
Crete? No, that's a different country.
It's not Caprice, is it? It's Caprice, isn't it?
Could be.
I think so. Somewhere like that. Somewhere where it's not necessarily tropical, but just nice and maybe Italy. Somewhere like that. Just beautiful and temperate, and don't have to worry about snow anymore. You can see a theme.
You sit on your porch.
Sit on my porch.
Dates and olives.
I love olives too. Yeah, Italy.
Drink just a little red wine and olive oil.
Some wine and cheese.
Oil.
But also, I need some paranormal in my life, so I'm hoping there's some paranormal stuff in Italy. Hey,
I'm
stay
sure we
tuned.
can find some.
We're doing Alaska. Next is Italy.
Ali Guinan if I'm pronouncing that right, Ali Gwynn,
Guinan?
wants to know, Eddie, if you could do one thing, no limits, what would it be?
She
doesn't know you very, very well. You do everything, no limits. Eddie's full throttle.
All gas, no brakes. That's how I roll. One thing with no limits, I do this. I mean, we're limited because we've got, all sorts of things. I mean, I love being a dad. That's part of this life too. But like, if I could hop in, the paranormal bus with you guys and tour the country and the world and do this, it'd be this. I would absolutely just make this be my life, man.
Yeah, creating content and just
investigating cool places and just
spend all your time
all
doing
of
this
it.
kind of stuff.
Yeah,
That'd be a lot
100%.
of fun.
Kathy Weiss wants to know, do you like searching for ghosts or Bigfoot?
Ooh, is it cheating if I say both?
It's like picking your favorite child.
I know, right? I love looking for ghosts. We've only done it a handful of times. I've done it. I've had a lot of experiences myself. And like is a strong word, but it's memorable for sure. Bigfoot is a whole different ball game and equally fun. But I mean, and you're up late at night for both of them, so it's hard to both. The next morning, you always feel like garbage. If I really had to pick between the two, I'd have to say ghosts.
Yeah.
But it's a slim one.
Thanks, Kathy, for that question. We got a couple more here. Craig Carsley wants to know. Hi to Craig, by the way.
Hey, Craig.
Hey,
Good
Craig.
buddy Craig. What's the best prank you've ever pulled? Bonus points if there's a supernatural twist to it.
I mean, it could be considered a supernatural twist, and I can keep this short. So the best prank I've ever pulled was remarkably simple, but also the results were amazing. So I won't use names out of respect to people, but I had a friend, and you'd be like, "This is how you treat your friends?" Yes, welcome to my life. So we were driving around at the time. My former wife and I were driving around Omaha, and we go by an old Blockbuster video. It shows you how long ago this was. This is when Blockbuster was a thing.
Right.
So we go by Blockbuster video, and we see this friend of mine in the store, and I'm like, "Oh snap, my friend is out." And so we'll call him Keith for this. Keith is out. So Keith's at the store, and we pull up to the store, and I get out of the car, and I'm just standing by the car, awkward, how do I do this? I want to surprise him, but I don't know how. And so Keith comes out of Blockbuster, and Keith is looking at what he recently rented. Just in his mind, he's like, "Man, my life is perfect. I got Little Caesars in one hand, I got Blockbuster in the other. What could go wrong?" Oh, I could tell you what could go wrong.
Oh, no.
So Keith's looking down, and I'm like, "What do I do? Oh my gosh!" So he has automatic locks on his car. And so he hits the button, kind of absent-mindedly, like we all do, just kind of unlocks the car and doesn't look up. So I crouch down real low behind. So he's coming in on the driver's side front. I'm on the passenger side rear. Oh, no. And so he climbs into his car. So as he opens the door, I open the door. Yeah. I'm not thinking this thing through. Look at Pat's face.
If there was a cop nearby, you would have gotten arrested.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The cop would have been like, "Is this suspicious?" Oh, yeah, all of it. And so I open the door, and he opens the door at the same time. So the dome light comes on, and then as he's shutting the door, I shut it at the same time. I timed it perfectly. I'm amazed at I'm the best stalker
You're a
ever.
Murderer in a past lifetime.
Dude. And so I'm in the back seat laying down in the back seat, and then, like I said, my now ex-wife was looking at me from the other car and was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so then he starts futzing around in his car, and I'm like, "Is he gonna drive away? What's gonna happen?" So he's just messing around, getting himself, and he's gonna die, setting himself up, and I slowly rise up in the back seat, and I can see myself in the rearview mirror,
Right.
And I'm looking at it, and he looks ahead. I can see his eyeballs in the rearview mirror, and he's not looking back. And I'm like, "This is crazy. This is just like a murder movie. I could break his neck right now. I could kill him." And so he starts the car. He starts the car, and I'm like, "Oh man!" So I just I reach
This has
out.
gone too far.
It's gone too far. It's gone too far. So I reach out and I just grab his arm,
my-
real slow but firm, and I go, "Hey," and he just his whole body. He had a seizure. The look on his face. I shaved 5 years off this man's life. When he dies, I have to go to his funeral and be like, "I'm sorry. You would have been alive 5 more years, but I took it from you."
Yeah.
And the look on his face was as if I had just killed him. And we had a laugh, and he's like, I shook him. He's like, "Ha, ha, all right, bye." And he drives home. I'm assuming it changes his pants. It was the most insane prank ever. So maybe that's a little paranormal, but it was nuts.
That reminds me of A Few Good Men and Tom Cruise getting in his car, and there's that informant sitting in his back seat. You just see his silhouette sitting back there. I can just see him looking in the rearview mirror and see Eddie sitting back there. But but no, he doesn't look in the mirror.
It was like you said. This had gone too far. Anyway,
boy.
that's my prank. I don't prank anymore. By the way, I've learned my lesson.
You hung it up after that.
Yeah,
That's next level,
that's
Eddie.
never a thing.
yeah.
I've never been a fan.
No.
Oh my God. Aaron Carlo wants to know, there's two parts to this question, so thanks for writing in, Aaron.
Woo.
Aaron wants to know, what's a cryptid or supernatural element that you do not believe exists, and then what's a favorite supernatural phenomenon that you do believe exists?
Supernatural element that I don't believe exists. That
Like
I
when
look
you want
at.
to exist, but you don't think it does.
Oh yeah. It's tough because like I love the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Oh, yeah.
It's so improbable, but like I think it might, but I want more information. There's so little out there about this thing. So I'm not gonna necessarily put that one on there. One that I'm pretty much convinced doesn't exist. I'm pretty much convinced, I would say, and I would need a lot more information to pull me back into the convinced, that the Jersey Devil, as its current incarnation, I want to be clear on that one, like this winged goat horse with one leg that's like a goat leg, the other one's like what, like a rabbit foot or something. like this impossible creature is what it is. I just don't think the Jersey Devil is truly what people think it is. That's me. Right. What I think does exist, that is a cryptid, your favorite that you or supernatural element. I'm not even going to say aliens because we know they're real because this has already been like published. It's published stuff. Look it up, kids. Cryptid that I believe totally exists. I'm going to just go for it. It's Sasquatch. I absolutely believe Sasquatch exists. Not so much in the what it has to be. There's just so much out there that people are not willing to look at. I really do believe that Bigfoot's real.
Ryan Stapp wants to know, if you were guaranteed to find conclusive evidence from a cryptid creature, which one would you choose and why?
Oh, same answer probably.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. I would just be like, let's put this thing to rest, man. I don't like the idea of show me the body. Like, why has it got to be like that? Like, let's capture one alive. Let's like try to talk to it, communicate. But I think that'd be the one for sure.
Justin Hansen says, who is your biggest inspiration and why is it Justin Hansen?
It's Justin Hansen. How do you know that one? That's crazy. Gosh, there's so many ways to be inspired, right? Yeah. Like I have a lot of inspirations in my life. Like, creatively, I think like Jim Henson's a big inspiration to me. I just like the idea of someone who built something from nothing and just went with his imagination and kept going. And everybody from like Alan Watts to, honestly, my friends inspire me. I'll be honest. You guys inspire me here in this room. You really do, to be better dads, to be, curious but humble about the world, and also like just be, have fun with it at the same time. I'll be honest. I draw a lot of inspiration from I don't have one person I necessarily look at, but I certainly my friends too. So that's my answer. Oh, and Bigfoot.
Well, and we're going to continue to do things to be more active on social media and then to talk about the feedback that you've given on the show. So, good way, if you want to get mentioned and have your question or comment mentioned on the show, just follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, leave comments, ask questions, and we're going to do fun contests, fun giveaways, all that good stuff. So, check us out. Thanks to everyone, by the way, at freesound.org for providing some of the music and sound effects from this show and every show. And we're cranking out more content than ever this year. So I hope you're excited for more episodes, more consistent episodes. And we always say this, but we'll never run out of content. The world's full of mysteries, right?
Yeah, there's always something.
Every time we think we start to run low, we find something new.
Yep.
Pat has mentioned this, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say this too. Pat, I want to give Pat some massive props and credit here. Pat is getting all of our content pushed to YouTube. So
slowly but surely.
So all you YouTubers out there, tune into our stuff. Our audio podcast will be up there, and then I would like to see us getting more and more video content up there as well.
Right now, it's kind of the classic Paranormal Dads on YouTube. So I'm starting from one and going through we're up to what, 66 now, something like that, 67. Mm-hmm. So slowly we're getting them out there. But yeah, one more place you can find our happy voices talking about creepy stuff.
One more place. And like we said, it'd be fun to upload some more just video content in general there. We got a lot of stuff to share. So, yeah, thanks for listening.
Keep it spooky, everybody.
Bye.
Dude, I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Sorry.
What the hell were you thinking?
I wasn't at all. I was like, I'll sit in his car, and then I'm like, oh no, and then it just kept getting worse.
What if you would have started driving away?
Oh, I'd have been like, Shereen would have been like, I was like, what were you gonna do? She's like, I would have just followed you. She's like, I would have followed you, but and no cell phones back then.
Yeah.
Not one of us had a cell phone. Not one. It was like, this is gonna be bad. I don't know where he's going.
Hilarious.